Okay, so what we're gonna start today, I'm gonna give you an overview of story mode. So I'm gonna it's not playing. Okay, I'm gonna start a new scene. I'll show you first the overview of story mode, and then we'll bring in the Mixamo stuff and the samples so you can get an overview, and then we do the assignment afterwards. Because I don't think I covered the story mode in the first class, so I'll do that first. So I'm going to open up any one of those previous moves in the folder. What's going on? Can't use my shortcuts. Some reason. Okay, the play is not working. I'm just going to restart. For some reason, some of the shortcuts are not working. Probably a memory leak or something. Okay. Previous moves, back fist. Oh, there we go. Okay. So I'm going to bake this to the control rig. Yes, it's better. Yeah. Oh, input. Okay. I'll put Land School too. I forgot. All right. Okay, so I baked the motion on the control rig, and now if I go in story mode here, you can kind of discard this section for now. The top section is mostly for camera tracks, so we can just hide it for now until we get to the camera, the class when we talk about the camera. So we can discard it by just dragging this one up like this. So in here you need to, before you start putting any clips, we need to add what we call, yeah. Oh, really? Maybe it's the second. Let's try. Maybe it's taking the other screen. Still no? What? Could you show me what you see? Okay, so it's working for you? Okay. Everybody can see? Okay. No problem. Okay, so in story mode here, what we need to start with is what we call a track, a character track. So enable to put different clips in the story mode. You right click on the gray area, you go insert, character animation track, and right now this track is empty. There's nothing assigned to it, no animation, no character. So what you need to do is here, we already have this character in this scene, right? He's called character, but if you remember, we can rename it here. So I'm gonna rename it just to be whatever, Max, Sam, whatever your heart fancies. So we'll name it Max, and then in the drop down here, you can choose Max. So now this track is assigned to this character is assigned to the track. And since there's already an animation here on this stake, it's called backfist, you can insert it into your scene. Okay? So I can go like this. This section is where you insert the clips, the animation clips. So what do we do here? You right click again, and you go insert. You have so the top section is to insert the track. The second section is to insert an animation file or the current take you're on. So the current take we're on is backfist. There's no other one, so that's the only one. So you select it, you go insert, current take, and it will. This is new. Oh, it's 2019. Okay. Okay, so I might hit some snags because they look like they added new features in 2019 that I don't see. So just I apologize in advance for that. So what happened now is we inserted the current take that's playing inside story mode. So now, if you try to offset this clip in time, there's no effect. It's because the story mode is not turned on. It's sort of a toggle, if you want to call it, or like a layer on top of the existing take. So the way to turn on story mode is just through this little button here. Right now it's gray, so it means it's off. If you click on it once, you can see change of colors. First it turns blue, and then this one sort of pops out a little bit. So this is how you turn on story mode. So now if you offset the clip, you see him moving, which means you're offsetting the animation. So what I did here is I offset it forward, so it will take the first frame and freeze it for 12 frames. Same thing backwards. I can offset it backwards, so it will skip the first first 9 frames. But if you still want to see it, you could just change the first frame and your time. And this is called transport control. It's sort of your timeline. If you change that to -9, you can still see it. See? You can also scrub here or scrub down here in story mode. So these are sort of the basics. But now I want to add a new clip. Okay? So actually I'll give a bit more basics on the before I add another clip. I want to show you something else. So in here, I'll explain these buttons a little bit, what they do. This one, loop, if you put the mouse on it, you'll see, it will give you what it does. So this button has 2 functions. Okay? The loop means you can. Okay, the loop kind of. Okay, the loop only works when you drag and drop. So I'll show you that. I'm going to show it to you now, actually. So I'm going to drag another clip from the previs. Put it in here. So if I scrub through, you will see the second clip I added. Okay? So what that loop does, by default it's loop. What it does is, if I hold the end of the clip and drag it, it will loop the same animation again. So, see? So it restarts from the beginning of the clip. See? So now you have 2 bat swings. So that's you can loop it as many times as you want. So that's the purpose of this one. I'm going to delete it. The second function for this button is, if you click on it, it changes to like a scale icon. So this one, what the purpose of it is to scale the timing of the clip. Okay? So if I click the end and drag, you will see here the numbers change. So now it's playing 0.5, so it's playing half the speed. Okay? So if I play it now, that's how you add slow-mo, kinda. So it just takes the clip and not doubles the frame, doubles the interpolation between the frames. Okay? And you can do that in reverse too. So if you can put it back to 1 and scale it down, so it will play at 1.8, or let's go with 2. So we'll play at double the speed. So just be careful with this button, because if you click on it once, you're scaling all the clips. But if you click on it again, you're looping the clips. Okay? This one is on by default. What it does is actually snap when you're moving the clip. It snaps on the frames, because if you don't have it on, see, it gives you an 8 with an asterisk. That means you're between 8 and 9. So you're like at 8.5 or something like that. So by default it's on, so you don't have to worry about it. But just in case you click on it by mistake and you start seeing asterisks here, know that probably the snap is off. This one you'll be using a lot too. It's a razor. It's pretty self-explanatory. What it does, has anybody used Adobe Premiere, like the video? Yeah, it's the same concept. So you have your video clips, you razor them, you put them, you blend them. It's the same. I forgot to say this in the beginning. It's the same concept as video editing. That's why it's so user-friendly and very powerful. It's the same concept. But instead, you have animations instead of video clips. Animation clips instead of video clips. So the razor does exactly what it's supposed to do. So I'm going to show you a little example. So let's say I want to make the attack, the actual hit, faster. So what I would do is I would razor up right after the anticipation, so maybe around here. So go to the frame where I want to cut the clip, razor, and then go to basically the follow-through, the after the contact or after the hit, and then razor again. The reason I'll cut twice is I don't want to touch this part, the timing, and I don't want to touch this part. Okay, that's why I use the razor. Like those sections of the animations, I'm happy with the timing basically. Okay, so I don't want to touch them. That's why I keep them as is. And what I do with this one, I turn on scale. I select the clip and I bring it down to, okay, so scaling up and down, just be careful with it. a general rule is don't scale not more than 1.2, and don't scale down more than 0.8, because it starts getting too slow or too fast. Okay? So just keep that in mind. Sometimes you can get away with a bit more, but the general rule is you don't go over 1.2 or 0. So 20% basically. Don't go over 20% up or 20% down. So I made it a little bit faster at 1.2. So I'm going to see how that looks. I go back to the first frame. See, you can already see the difference, kind of, right? And if you want to preview what it looks like without this new timing, just uncheck toggle off story mode. So uncheck it, play it. I'm going to loop the playback, and I'm going to play just certain up to here. So what I did here is going to loop up to 34 and go back to the first frame, so we can see the action over and over. It's just a little bit faster to preview the difference. So now this is raw, untouched. I'll put that at 0.2. And then I'm going to turn it on. You see the difference. I can try it a little bit more to scale it. 1.3. Preview again. It's already feeling a lot better than the slow-mo. See the difference? That's how you tweak timing in Motionbuilder. If you were keyframing like last week, just a second. If you were keyframing last week, you can play with the keys, remember? You can just update this key, move the keys up and down. But in story mode, when you're dealing with mocap and you have a key on every frame, it's a lot harder. So this is the way to do it in story mode. Yeah? Okay, let me come over. Okay, so this is what scaling the clips is all about. I just want to, guys, please, s'il te plaît, por favor. Let me see. Cut, copy, paste. Yeah, we don't use these. I'm not gonna go through these. Matching. Okay. I'll go through matching super quick. Should I do it? I can do it. I can do it when I merge in the Mixamo stuff. Yeah, let's do it then. Okay, so that's a quick overview. Okay. Actually, should I show you? Yeah, maybe. I'll show you this little thing before we start mixing the clips from Mixamo. Could be handy for you. Nice thing about story mode too is you can layer on. How can I say that? So you have one track, and then you layer another track on top, but use different body parts. I'll show you what I mean. It's like a layer, but let's say you have a wave animation and you have a walk animation. You want to mix them together. Story mode allows you to do that. I'll show you a quick example. I'll load up this one, but without animation. I'll switch to control rig. So right now, take 01 has nothing. Okay? I'm going to insert character. Which one? Can anybody tell me which one? No. The first one is a generic object in Motionbuilder. What you want is character animation. Because this is a character you're inserting, you want to go with character animation track, always the second one. Okay? And the camera is for camera. So always remember, generic is for simple objects like props and whatnot, and character animation track is the one you want. I will insert the character, and I'm going to look for a walk straight. So just a side note, everything in the previs and in the samples folder in here, no, sorry, samples, NMs again, everything in these 4 folders comes ready to drag and drop in story mode. The reason is all these FBX files already have a character assigned to it. So that's why you're able to drag and drop. With Mixamo, it's a bit different. We're going to go through it in a bit. You have to go kind of what we did this, the second week with the first assignment. You don't have to worry about it for these because they're plug and play. They're just drag and drop. So that's what I'm going to do now. So I can take the walk forward and just drop it in here. Okay? And now if why I don't see anything? Anybody can tell me? Story mode. Turn it on. Okay. So now if I turn it on, I'm going to see the walk. Even though there's nothing in here, it's a T-pose, it's still overwriting that T-pose with that new clip because we just turned on the story mode. Okay, so now I have my walk. I want him to, let's try wave over, see what that gives us. So I'm going to insert another track. So by default, it hides the weight value. So you just need to expand it a little bit. Again, choose character. And in here, you have a little bonhomme, little guy icon. If you click on it, you will see all the body parts available. So right now, it's going to play the full body, the animation on the full body. So if I drag and drop, wave over, it's going to play this animation. So the first animation disappeared. Why? Because there's a priority order in story mode. So it's always the last clip in the order is the one that takes priority. Okay? So it overrides this. Unless you play with the weights. So if you put the weight here at 0, it discards this and just plays the walk. So this is what the weight is all about. The nice thing here is you don't have to use all the body. Okay? So you can click on this, click on full body. It will deactivate all of them. Except don't worry about these. We're not going to touch base on these. And you can either use left arm or right arm. So if I choose left arm, so now what happens is it's using the walk, full body, and on the second track, it's only using the left arm with that animation. So what we just did is we mixed and matched 2 mocap to get a new one, basically. I don't know if it's starting to be confusing. It's pretty clear. I don't know. I hope it's not confusing, but that's the way to work with. That's one of the beauty advantages of story mode. You can mix and match to get something new. So now, if you take these. Let's say you want to use this in your scene, the assembly scene. What we've been working so far is individual files, right? So I'm going to save this actually inside anims. I'm going to save this as walk wave, because this way you separate your animations from the assembly. The assembly, we're only going to worry about it once we come back from March break. Your assembly is putting all the animations together with the layout, with the characters, everything. It's still a better idea to separate the single animations you create from the assembly scene, because you have sort of two separate files. So if something goes wrong with this, you can at least pull back the animations that are saved separately. Okay, so we have this animation we're happy with. Let's say it's from 160, 0 for 167. Because we want to be able to use this animation in another file, okay? So the way to bring it into another file is you finish your editing, you select your character. Let's say that's the only character we have in the scene. And then in here, key control. Actually, you can use the same thing. You can use this as well. You can either do this. Make sure you're in full body, plot selected, plot. So now if I deactivate story mode, it will play the animation that was in story mode. It gets rid of the T-pose and just bakes that animation outside of story mode. And now you can save it. You can save it like this. Actually, no, you can just save on top. You just need to name this clip walk wave. Save. And if you open a new scene, activate the control rig. So there's two ways of loading it. So you can go load the character button, plot to control rig, or you can use good old story mode. So now if you have the T-pose and you want to insert that animation that you just saved with something else, like you have your assembly scene, you're putting all the clips together, you go character track, insert animation file, and you bring in the, I think it should be in the drop down here. Yeah. So the Windows will save the last FBX file that you saved. So it should be here in the drop down. And you just click on it, open. What? So now I still don't see anything. Turn on story mode, and this is the clip. So now you can do the stuff we talked about. You can scale it. See, after I sped it up by 1.6, it starts looking really like Charlie Chaplin sped up animation. So just be careful. Not more than 1.2. Still looks decent. Okay, so that's how the basics. You do everything in story mode, you save it, and then you load it into your scene where you're putting everything together. It's just easier management this way. Instead of trying to, in your assembly file, trying to mix and match different tracks, it's going to get a little bit messy. So separate your motions from your assembly. Okay, so I'll start showing you the Mixamo stuff, how to bring it in. So what I'm looking for, I still have parkour jump. So I'm gonna be looking for a run before this, and maybe a land and roll after. Okay? So that's what I'm gonna look for in Mixamo. Again, if you use the same exercise, you can continue with it from last week. But if you chose something different, like another video reference, just choose another motion. If the run and land roll still works for you, use it as well. But it all depends on what you chose for the previous assignment. So let's say you did the exercise thing, I would, stitch in some different motion, because the run and the land roll is not going to work for you, obviously. Okay, so Mixamo. So I highly recommend don't use the character that you up. Let's say, don't do the same mistake I did in the first assignment. So if you uploaded a character that's 5 meters tall, do not download animations with this guy. Just use the normal, this guy, the blue or the red, or any other character. Why is this? He's not switching. Oh, I need to switch the characters first, probably. That's why. Where's the Mixamo dude? It doesn't really matter, because this guy, they're all the same scale, I think, so it doesn't matter. So I'm going to look for a roll, maybe. That looks something falling to roll. That could be interesting. Yeah, that could work. So I'm going to download this one. Download without skin. I don't need the skin. I'm going to need him in T-pose, because in able to characterize the Mixamo, if you remember, we need the T-pose in the same FBX file. Okay? So you still need a T-pose before we bake to control rig. So I'm going to download the T-pose too in T-pose. Oh, it's downloading the mesh probably. That's fine. And yeah, I'll take a run from the samples folder. Okay, so first thing, actually I'm gonna save this as another scene. So Argor parkour run jump land roll. Better to be more specific. This way you don't have to guess later what that file is, because you're going to have a bunch of files. So first thing I need to do is set up the Mixamo stuff, so that they're ready for story mode. Okay? So the character is called Remy. Doesn't really matter for the character. because technically we only need his animation, so we don't need the character, so it doesn't really matter for this. All takes. So he's hopefully regular size. No? Damn it. Is it gonna matter? It shouldn't be 4 feet tall. I'm just gonna check the what's the character called? I'm just gonna check if the other heights are good, because he seems a little bit too big. Okay, maybe it's not gonna matter. I'll continue. We'll see if it affects anything. Okay, so this one I'm gonna rename it to T-pose, and I'll bring in the other one, the falling. Merge options, merge instead of append, and here fall to roll. So now we have 2 takes, T-pose and the fall to roll. And now it's time to add a character. So some of you will hate me for this. What we did in the first class is we did the character definition by hand. So if you remember, we went to templates characters and we dragged and dropped this, and we did all this manually. Okay? The reason I asked you to do it is I want you to learn what the character definition is. But Mixamo comes pre-built already. So if you're downloading characters from Mixamo, you don't have to do the every time. You have to do it by hand. All you have to do is, because the other reason I showed you the manual definitions is if you download a character from another website and it comes with a skeleton, a good skeleton, the joints are in the proper place, and you don't have to go through Mixamo. You can directly go in Motionbuilder and do the character definition. So that's why I showed you the character definition. But if you're downloading from Mixamo, all you have to do, templates character, drag and drop the character, just press and left hold mouse and drop it on the joint, not the mesh, the joint. You will get a small box called Characterize. Just click on it, choose biped, and if you go in the definition, everything is assigned. It's because the joints from Mixamo are already named properly, so you don't have to worry about manually putting the definitions. One small issue here, the yellow stuff, even the fingers, it does the fingers. So this will save you a lot of time bringing in animations from Mixamo. You just drag and drop, and that's all you have to do. So it's complaining about the legs. So all we have to do, anybody remember? Yes? Sorry, only saw her first. Yeah, go ahead.
For the arms, what happened is going to this thing to like 90, 180, 0.
Yeah. To 0 outer rotation. Good. So all you have to do is select the rotation in global, make sure in global, and put 0 here, and then 0 here. It could be these ones as well. Maybe. And looks like my keyboard shortcut failed me again. Go down the chain. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's not gonna make a difference. Okay, I'm going to try to characterize it and see what happens. Okay, so now this one still works, yeah. So now we can bake on the control rig to get the motion on these files, on these takes. So bake, control rig, always 3 dots. You want to bake on both takes. So, okay, so it's asking you if you want an FKIK. Always choose FKIK control rig. And remember this one, because this one will bake both takes, the T-pose and the animation, the landfall. Okay? So bake or plot. Now, let's check. Yeah, looks like it worked. So shouldn't be any issues. Even if you see the legs a little bit orange, or don't worry about it. As long as the motion is preserved, you should be okay. Maybe another character would be better. If you hit a roadblock with the animation, it looks weird, try to choose another character. It might be character specific. The joints might be better on some other characters. Okay, so now we baked the motion. We save it. Actually, I'm gonna save it inside the anims folder. So land, I'll put Mixamo just to know, so I can filter everything that's coming from Mixamo, so I know what it is. Land roll. One small trick here is it's better if you save it to be able to bring it in. Yeah. Because the problem with story mode is it doesn't know if your animation has 1 take or 2 takes. So you would need to save this scene. Each animation has to be saved kind of separately, okay? So what happens is you can do it like this. After you save it the first time, go save as in the same folder. And you see this option here, save one take per file. Okay? Check it on. Use take name. And click save. Trying to think of an easier way because let's keep it like this, and this method is probably easier because then if you go save as again, it might not give you this again. Okay, so let's do it this way. Character control, file, save, and then use the same name. Why does it keep going back? Oh, Mixamo land roll. And name this one as clip because it's the clip inside story mode. Okay? So you'll know exactly that this animation FBX file is one clip only. Okay? So what do you save here? You only save the fall to roll. You don't need the T-pose anymore. The T-pose only is important once you characterize, once you bring it in from Mixamo. To use it in story mode, you don't need the T-pose. So you only save fall to roll. You save. And now we're ready to assemble everything together. So I'm going to put a run, and I'm going to put the roll in the previous file. So this one, Argor, parkour, run, jump, land. I'm going to insert a character track, Argor. I will use one of the previs. Run. Is there a run? Run straight. So I want to run before jump, parkour, and then land to roll. So run. So here is, yeah, you don't see anything because the clip is from 47 to 101. So we need to bring that to 0. If you have nothing selected and you press A, you zoom in on all the clips in the story mode. Okay. So the run is there. I want to insert the jump. So you can either insert it from here, or you can save it from here, file save, and load it in the clip already. But since it's already in the file, actually, I'm going to duplicate this take, so I don't by mistake overwrite it because it's in the same file. So I'll just duplicate, choose new take. It will ask me, do you want to copy the data from the current take? I would say yes. So now we have 2 jumps. And I will use 02 to overwrite it with the story mode. Okay? So think of it, I just did that just to have a backup plan. Something goes wrong with the take 2 or take 1, I still have a backup. Think of it only as a backup. That's why I did it. So now I want to insert this jump after the run. So I take the run, I put it mine in negative frames. I go insert current take. So if I turn on story mode now, what do I have? I have the run and the jump. So I'm going to put this back to 0, offset them. So now we have the animations going in different directions. We need to fix that. So if you're happy with the direction of the jump, let's say your environment is correct with this jump. He's jumping in positive z. You just need to fix the run to be running the same direction. So that's the matching. That's how you do it. You do it in what we call matching here. So you want to match this clip to the next clip. Okay? So you click on the clip that you want to match. You click match right here, match options. Not the auto match. Auto match, I didn't have very successful results in it. So just click on the match options. You get a box. So the first thing it will ask you, what do you want to match? 99% of the time, you want to match what the hips are doing between the two clips, because the hips is the center of mass and it's driving everything. So you want to match the last pose of the hips to the next pose of the hips in the second clip. So you click on this guy and you choose the first one. Usually the first one in the hierarchy is the hips. You choose hips. In here, you're matching to what? You're matching to the next clip, right? Because you're matching the first clip to the second clip. So you choose next clip. And a bunch of options here. At current time, I usually just go with at the start of next clip. So it will take the first frame of the next clip and match the previous clip to it. Over here as well, you can match position and rotation or position minus rotation. You have options. In this case, we want both because he's running diagonally and then the jump is another direction. So you want to match both position and rotation. So what just happened is, again, it takes the last frame. So it takes the first frame of the jump. Oops. So it takes the first frame of the jump and brings the clip to that location. Okay? So there's a big pop here. So we need obviously to fix that. It's just blending from one frame to the other. Actually, there's not blending. It's just going from one frame to the other. So the nice thing about the clips is you can blend these two clips together. But we need to blend the proper way. On the first frame here, he is in left foot passing. Okay? So we need to pick a frame of the run that matches the left foot passing. So the way to do this is incorrect. He's actually right foot passing. So if we scrub back, this is probably a better pose to match to. So what do is we don't scale. We use the razor. Okay? So you select this clip, you razor, and then you delete this part. Okay? and you bring in this clip. But now there's a big gap. So we need to do the matching again. So you select the clip, you match, hips, you keep everything here by default. Oh, I matched the wrong one. So we need to match this clip to the next one. So now it's a little bit better. See? The foot, you can probably shave off a frame or two. So you don't have to razor every time, okay? So you can now turn off scale. If you remember, this button has two functions. Turn off scale, so it goes back to looping, and just trim, just like in the Premiere, you trim the ends of the video. So if you trim this a little bit like this, see, it's removing some frames. Oh, it's adding the opposite way. So you need actually to add, because we want him to be later. Yeah. I think this one is good. We'll redo the matching to next. See, it's already, you can already see the big difference. So how do we blend into this? We take this clip and we just bring it over. So what do we get? Is it starts blending on top of these frames from the run. So once you drag it over to the previous clip, think of it as those two lines. Think of it as it's going from 0 to 100. It's taking these frames at 0, and it's increasing the weight of this clip into the previous clip. Just like video editing, think of it as this is like a fade in, a fade out. Well, it fades out on the previous clip and it fades in on the next clip. Yeah. By default, it's like this, but when I was doing before, I was scaling it, so it was at scaling already. So that's why I had to click on it again. This one is you loop and you trim. It's sort of the same function as the razor. When you're trimming, you're cutting frames or you're adding frames. So it's kind of this one is a little bit tricky. Just be careful with it. Okay. Jeremy, do you have a question? No? Yeah. So we can already test it. Maybe we don't need the whole run. We just need maybe from here. So I'm just gonna trim these frames. Again, I'm in the loop function. Loop function is loop and trim, kind of. You can get rid of some frames or you can add frames. The frames are not actually gone. Even when you use the razor, they're not actually gone. You can bring them back. See? If you put it back, the frames are back. So think of it as you're trimming, just like in Premiere. You're trimming the video. So I'm going to trim these and just bring it back to 0. Now we can see how it looks. I can probably scale the run a little bit just to match the jump, because it's kind of a jog. So even if you can scale it now, 1.2, but you still have to drag back the clip. Let's see how that looks. maybe it's a bit too much. Always think about timing. Kind of matches what the jump is doing, so it's kind of the same velocity if you want. And now we can add the, there's a bunch of dead frames here that I don't need, so I can trim those as well. Switch it back to trim and just scale it, trim it down. So now we're ready to, I'm going to save my scene. Now we're ready to add the Mixamo one. Okay? So we went through this. You just, these ones from the previous, just drag and drop. Adding the Mixamo one, if you go insert animation file, Mixamo land and roll clip. That's the one you want because the clip is without the T-pose. We don't want the T-pose. It will actually insert the clip where your current frame is. So if you're here and you go insert, whoops, you can undo the insertion. If you insert the land roll, oh, never mind. You used to insert it where the current frame is, but it doesn't look like it. It's probably a 2019 feature. So now, I don't need him to land down like this. I just need him to touch the ground and roll. So technically, I don't even need this part. So what I do is I'm just going to trim this part. So what do I get? And it's perfect. He's landing with the left foot, so I don't have to worry about it. If he was landing with the right foot, and you can mirror the animation. If you double click on the clip, it's in here. I think it's somewhere else. Yeah. It's okay. Don't worry about the mirroring. We can go through it another time. Actually, I think Mixamo. Let me double check. Mixamo might come with a mirror. Yeah. So if you want something custom, and let's say you download an animation, but your previous clip has the mirrored foot, you can download the mirrored version of the animation by just clicking on this one. So now he's going to turn the other side. It's always mirroring in this axis from left to right. Okay? Okay, so now we have the same issue. You can use the match again, but I forgot to show you what these buttons do. So don't worry about this one. This one, no. This one is very important. So what this one will do is it will enable you, if you're in display, models only, you won't see what this button does. Okay? You need to be in either X-ray or normal. Okay? So what this button does, it shows where these clips are in the viewport. It's sort of a, if you want to call it a ghost mode, like what's it called in Maya? I think it's ghost skinning or something like. It shows you the previous frames and the next frames, and it gives you a presentation where these clips are in the world, in the world space. What it also enables you to do, it allows you to move this clip in space. So if you, let's say the matching doesn't give you what you need, and you need to move this clip in space manually, you select the clip, you turn this button on, and you move it in space. So the yellow one, last frame is here, so you can actually kind of guesstimate where it's going to land. So these points here, this is the actual last frame of the yellow clip, of the jump. Okay? And the pivot point of this clip is the first frame. So you can kind of match it by just moving the clip by hand. You can also rotate it. Let's say you want him to land on an angle. You can move and rotate this clip in space. So now what you get is something like this. Let's say we don't want the rotation. We can undo the rotation. Again, you can use the match, but this is another technique. You can either use the match if it works for you, or if you have to do it manually, this is the way to do it. Make sure that this guy is on, and make sure you're in normal view, and just move it manually. Okay. So now we need to do the same thing, the blend. We need to blend properly from this clip, the same thing as we did here. We need to make it a nice smooth transition. Okay? So here he's lower. So, but now we're still a little bit high in this motion, so maybe we can try to blend the next clip into the yellow one and see what gives us. Sometimes it works. That's kind of working. Let's see what the playback is good. It's not bad, actually. Maybe it's a bit too soft. You should land with a bit, maybe more of an impact. What we can try is removing some frames. I'm going to save before. We can remove some of these to match the height of the previous one. We can try to trim some frames, maybe 2. Bring it back. Yeah, I think that might work better. Bring it over a couple of frames and check. Now that's looking much better. So a nice little shortcut. You can right click, you select all the clips, and if you use frame start end, it will actually put your time segment from 0 to 93. Like if you're lazy like me, you don't want to type it every time, it will do that for you. So now if we play the whole thing, there you go, one smooth motion. That's one of the things I want you guys to focus on. Is I want you to guys start thinking about speed and blend, like make a nice smooth transition. This is what the tool will give you. It's available. Like try not just like stitch stuff together and have these weird pops between the clips. I need you to start thinking about blending clips together smoothly and not just stitching stuff together, right? Because part of the previs is you're trying to get your timing as close as possible to the final film. So if you have these weird pops, you're not doing yourself a favor. You're having your timing will be off, your camera will be off. So try to get as close as possible to this kind of quality. Try to think of body mechanics. Match the speed coming in and out of the clips. So it's not like he's running, jogging, and suddenly he jumps, and then he lands and stands up. So keep the momentum going between the clips. Keep that in mind to end up with something nice looking. I'm not happy with this one. It feels a bit still too fast. But it could be like this one is okay. I'm going to try to tweak this one the next 5 minutes before we start practicing. Yeah. I'll try to add might be I went too much with the speed. So if you can select multiple clips and move them. I'm going to try to scale this one back to normal or close to normal. Let's see what that looks like. Might be here the problem. Is he sliding? Yeah, his feet are sliding. So look. You see, look at the hips and look at the legs. So what you can do here is you can take both of these clips, turn on ghost mode, and just move the clips back a little bit to minimize this sliding. Look. See? Undo. So you guys see the difference? So what was happening before is this clip was too advanced, too much forward. So it was finishing the previous clip and try to slide forward to that location. The position in space determines the blend as well. So if this one is too far or too close, the blend will be all messed up because it's trying to reach that new position. Okay? So just keep that in mind. If the clip is too far or too close, it will affect your blending. So you usually leave that till the end. You manipulate that stuff because all the clips are together. You can select them both and move them. So that's one way to fix any sliding issues. Just select the clips, move them in space using this one, and it should fix. Yeah, look at the hips. They're now kind of, let's see what it looks like. See, much better. There's still some pops. It's probably my keyframe. I only spent an hour on the keyframe, but it's flowing nicely. So now 95. Okay. So I'll just add those 2 frames because we offsetted the clips a little bit. And now I want to bake down to control rig. So you can either go like this, make sure you're in full body, animation, plot selected, or you can use the blue button, bake, control rig. Oh, you need the control rig selected. Let's see if that worked. Looks like it worked, yeah. Yeah, so we turn off story mode, and all this animation, the 3 clips in story mode, now it's baked on the take. So that's the assignment for part 1 of story mode. There's other stuff, obviously, later next week, but this is a good base for story mode. Cool. Any questions? Yeah.
Since you're assembling all the clips together, it would be advised to go back and fix any keyframes before putting them all together.
The keyframe one, or
Like, let's say that you wanted to edit the jump twirl.
yeah,
Are you still able to access the keyframes to make it better?
I would fix it before you add it in story mode, because this way you're not struggling with both at the same time. When it gets to multiple takes and multiple story tracks, it can get a bit confusing. So I would fix the keyframe version once you're happy with it, and then bring it in and put the two clips back, the previous and next. It'll be easier, because you only you focus on one thing at a time. You focus on fixing the keyframe, and then you focus on the story mode. Cool. Anything else? Okay. So let's